recognize deceptions of the past. Seek truth and stand together at last. Silent misconceptions blur and separate. Turn open words to whispers. Answers fade away. Hope and understanding hide under the floor. What for? Hidden legislation buried for the cost of billion-dollar backroom deals that profit from our loss. What good is tomorrow if born to die in waste? Is trust just an illusion? Is a promise a mistake? And as sure as the sun shines, as sure as the grass grows and the rivers flow, I'll be there beside you, pulsing through your veins. You'll feel my heart, you know. Time has come to recognize deceptions of the past. Seek truth and stand together at last.
Sure as the sun, sure as the trees, and the rivers flow free. I'll be there, I'll be there, you can count on me. I'll be with you when we stand together at
As sure as the sun shines, as sure as the grass grows and the rivers flow, I'll be there beside you, pulsing through your veins. You'll feel my heart, you know. Time has come to recognize deceptions of the past. Seek truth and stand together at last.
Yes. Welcome, Phyllis
Thank
Sinclair.
you.
It's so great to have you here. This is co-host Rick Hunt.
Hello.
Hi,
And,
Rick. Nice to meet you.
Operating our board here. I'll introduce you to Carolyn. Wait.
Hello. Hi, Carolyn.
She's busy. She's busy. All right, let's see. Oh gosh, we've enjoyed your songs and
Awesome.
Yeah.
Washerwoman Lament and what was the one with Pauline and I started out with from your YouTube channel the song At Last,
Okay.
which kind of starts out with the news recording. And I was so moved by that song, because we all remember Idle No More. And
Yes.
isn't it about the same today? I mean, so
Yeah.
thank
Sometimes
you
we
for your
wonder if
song.
you're welcome. Sometimes we wonder if we're making any progress at all because you see the same events kind of reoccurring over time. But I'm one of those people, I'm an eternal optimist, and I keep hoping and believing that people will and do change, like we can change minds. And I think music is a wonderful way of doing that because it gives people time to pause and maybe think just a little bit more about deeper things that, affect all of us.
Yeah, indeed. And I love your reference to, as long as the rivers flow and, everything in life. And, it's just so beautiful.
Thank you
Uh,
so much.
and that's, of course, your unique Cree perspective. Um, I love how your music has you share about your family and traditions in some of the work. I also was really touched by reading a little bit more about the album and the title track, Kiem. I might not
Mhm.
be saying that quite right.
You are. You're saying it beautifully.
Can you talk a little bit more about the meaning of that and the whole album?
For sure, absolutely. You talked earlier about me writing about my people, my way of life, the people that I've met in my indigenous communities, and the things that I've experienced. And when I set out to songwrite, that's exactly what I wanted to do because, I'm a child of the '60s, and I grew up during a time when, the values that we have today and the way that we are respecting each other more today just wasn't going on at the time. And I really wanted to find a way to elevate the status and the thought that people had of Indigenous people that was so incorrect, in my mind, and I really wanted to set out to change that. So I made a point of every album to write a song about either someone that I knew or use the Cree language or talk about the land or talk about something that has to do
Wow.
with my Indigenous heritage, because I feel like it's really important to do that because we're still in a period of change and finding a way to be equals with everybody. So anyway, back to Kiem. That word is a word that I used to hear quite a bit when I was growing up as a little girl by my grandmother. Um, when something would happen in the house and she couldn't do anything about it. Let's just say the stove broke down, and there was nobody around to fix it. She'd say, Kim, we'll get by. So what Kim means is it's okay. Things are going to be all right. Release it. Let it go.
Mm.
Things are going to fall into place in a way that you don't understand. So Kiem in that one little word is really a word of saying it's okay, but it's a word of trust. It's a word of believing that, life in its way has a way of turning things around for us in a way that we don't understand. So it's okay.
hmm hmm
I have to say, I was listening to your guitar playing, and oh my gosh, it's like crystalline. That's the word that came to my mind. It's like it's so crystalline.
Well, thank you. I think I work really hard at trying to hone my craft, but I also have a very good producer, I must say.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I love your music videos that you have a little channel on the YouTube, and I first listened to your music there, and it was so fun to see how it all came together. Making the little video.
Let me tell you all a quick story. When I wanted to put a music video to me and Pauline. So we went back to my hometown and we found two young little girls who were willing to be me and Pauline. And we spent the day shooting video, my husband and I. So we did all this work. We had to leave on the train that night. So, we worked as hard as we could to get the good shots and everything else. And we went on the train that night. So when we got on the train, I said to my husband, I said, let's take a look at some of the shots that we got today. I was quite excited. And lo and behold, what had happened that was when we thought the camera was on, the camera was off on my camera.
Oh.
And when we thought the camera was
Oh no. Yep.
on, right?
Right.
So I went, oh my goodness, what are we going to do with this? We have nothing, to make a music video out of. So anyway, we came home and then one day I just said, listen, let me get a hold of everything that we have and let's see if I can do something with it. And it's funny how the universe has a way of working because when I look back at the shots, there were so many shots of when those two girls were candid. And when they knew the camera wasn't on, they were more candid and the camera was able to catch that. And for some reason, I was able to take all these shots of them being candid, like them by the water where she throws the piece of moss,
Uh-huh.
on the other girl's back. That was totally candid. I wasn't supposed to get that. There was another shot of where she jumps on her friend's back, and they're going to do like a piggyback ride. That was all candid. And I came home and I thought, wow, you know what? I didn't think I was going to get much out of it, but I actually got something out of it that was better than if I had tried to work and put it together in another way. So, it's funny how life works that way sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Jam.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. You also wrote in Finding Ontario about adoption
Mm.
in
Yeah.
that whole issue.
Yes.
It's a sad story, but yet somehow I felt a little lifted up with hearing the music.
I'm really glad to hear that because even though sometimes I talk about deeper issues like the 60 scoop, when, thousands of Indigenous children from Canada were adopted out, and sometimes without their families knowing about it. But nonetheless, whenever I write a song, even if it's a deep issue, I always try to bring some light to it because I think, I want to give the world hope. I want to give the world something to believe in. And also for other people, I want them to believe that even though something drastic, difficult may have happened in your life, there is always a way to turn it around. There's always a way to find light in things. And that's one of the goals whenever I write is to find light at the end of the tunnel. So yes, Finding Ontario was a song after I had met a relative that I'd never met before, who had long black striking hair, who had, dark skin, never met him before. And my cousin introduced me to him, and she says to me, Phyllis, this is so and so. And I said, hi, how are you? And he turned to me and he said, hi, how you all doing? I'm doing fine. And now that's my very poor American accent, mind you. But, but when he said that, I thought, where did he come from? Um, and so I got to chatting with him, and I learned that he had been one of the kids that had been scooped from Canada and raised on the eastern seaboard in the United States. And I came home and I knew, and of course, we all know that there are many, many, many more like this out there who don't know their identity, who don't know their language, who don't know whether they come from the city or the country. They don't know so many things. And I was hoping that this was a way, to I was just very glad that this young man had the courage to come and find out more about himself, so that he'd have a fuller perspective of who he is.
Mm.
And he has since gone back to the U.S., and that's great. But I'm glad that he came, so that he has a better idea of who he
Mm.
is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's beautiful that you are able to make the music to tell the story. It is easier to hear it, and I think it just goes through you, that you can absorb it in many different ways, not just through the ears.
Right. I think that's what music should do. I think that music should go beyond the ears. I think the music should go down into your into your soul, into your spirit. And I think when it reaches that depth, then I think that's when it has the
Mm.
opportunity to create change. It has the opportunity to make other things happen
Well,
inside.
when did you start writing songs, Phyllis?
I think, well, writing, I think for me has always been a part of my life, but writing songs really only took place
Mm.
probably back in 2000, 2002. Now,
Wow.
I'd written
Mm.
songs, no doubt about that, but it was in 2002 that I decided that it was time to put them down and get them recorded.
Mm.
Um, First of all, it was only for uh, I'm forgetting the word, is that right? No, it's not right.
You mean that word, it like into the future,
Yes, yeah, sorry.
save it for the future,
It'll come to me
posterity.
after. It'll come to me after the interview for sure, and I'll shake my head and go, "What did you say?" Nonetheless, yeah. At first, it was my husband said to me, "These are really good songs. You really need to get them down, even if it's just for the grandkids in the future."
Hmm.
So I did write them down. A friend of mine heard one of the songs on the album and said, "You need to take this to." Um, a person in Edmonton here who has a magazine, and I didn't know about the magazine. I very blindly, I shouldn't say blindly because I think that we're led oftentimes if we want to be. So I went down, I knocked on the door, and I said, "Yeah, my friend so and so told me that I should give you this CD." And he said, "Thank you very much." So I took the CD, closed the door, and I walked away. And 2 weeks later, I get this telephone call from this publisher of this magazine. It said, I was really moved by a couple of your songs. He said, I would like to feature you in our magazine and have North Coast Fisherwives Prayer as a featured song that we will annotate in the magazine. And I thought, wow. I said, sure, yeah, absolutely. And then he said, well, I'd like to do an interview with you about your work. And I said, certainly. So we did that interview, and really, that was the beginning, because after that, I began to get emails and phone calls and
Oh,
interest in my work. But
great.
when I had set out to do it, it wasn't at all to start to become a recording artist. You know, it really was to tell stories. It really was to inform people. That was what my goal was. So when I had this opportunity to spread my message further afield, I definitely took it.
Yeah. Good for you for,
Yeah.
recognizing that potential and,
Yes.
and
Yes.
allowing yourself to be guided to it. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, that happens to you, Rick, sometimes,
Yeah,
the opportunities.
much to my chagrin. No, I'm just kidding. Not easy being me, Phyllis.
Oh, well, listen, I think sometimes all feel the same way about ourselves.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. What do you, well, there was another song that I really loved too, the If I Were a Bird, the
Mm,
unconditional love song. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I sure do.
mm,
We just came through a pandemic. Nobody wants to think about it. But I believe that, since that pandemic, we're almost in another one. And that one is that so many people drown their sorrows and their hurt and their pain from everything that happened, and there seems to be a rise of drug addiction, any kind
Mm-hmm.
of addiction, really. And I don't think that sits too far from any one of us. Almost everybody that I've talked to has a family member, a friend, someone quite close who is lost in addiction, and they have their concerns for them. And I am no different. And I don't mind being vulnerable because I think that's how people can relate to you. I'm not somebody sitting in some room writing these golden songs to get on the radio. I'm sitting in a room
mm,
writing songs that affect me, that I know affect other people, so that I hope I can find a way to bring some light and healing to their own lives. And so when I wrote If I Were a Bird, I knew and I understand that, excuse me, we can't save people who are caught up in addiction. We can't do that. We don't have the power to do that. The only thing that we can do is to show them our love while taking care of ourselves, and also being there when the time comes for them to say, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for help.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where If I Were a Bird comes from.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to let the loved ones in my life know that I do care. My love is unconditional. And sometimes they don't understand that because we have to take a far step back sometimes, and they don't understand us when we take that step back. But I do care, I do love, and if I were a bird, no matter where you are, when you call for help, I'll be there to help you.
Oh,
Well,
so
what's evident is that you are a true artist, and your expression comes from your life, your dreams, your thoughts, everything.
Yeah.
And like you just got done saying, you're not sitting in a room trying to write a one-hit wonder type thing,
mhm.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and,
you're
that,
authentic.
Oh,
I think it's important to be authentic. I
Yes.
really do. I go to various music conferences, and it's always heartwarming to me to see those artists who are willing to step out of the box and be brave enough and courageous enough to create their own sounds and to express themselves in their own unique way, because we have already a lot of songs that sound the same.
Mm,
mhm,
Many times artists, up and coming artists, they hear a really good artist, they want to sound like them. And I
mhm,
think we all did that at some point. There's nothing
mm,
wrong with that. But I think the true creativity comes when you put that aside and you say, hey, listen, I can't sing, I can't play an instrument. How do I express myself
mm,
in a way that's needed in the world today?
mhm,
That's what will get you somewhere.
mhm,
Yeah, and
mhm,
it might not get you to the top of the charts, but it'll get you into the hearts of the people that need to hear you.
mm.
mhm.
Yeah.
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 There's a reason you're doing all this.
Mhm,
Yes, yes, there is. And,
Mm,
I thank my creator, my keeper every day that I still have my health and I'm able to do
yeah.
this, because I'm not getting any younger. And, the mark that I want to leave is that, we all have a gift. And if we can all use our gift
Mm, mm,
to create change. And you might think that, you're just this, little, I won't say nobody because we're all somebody, but, that we're not significant enough to do what it is. But, I just bet
mm.
you if you reached out and tried it, you get somewhere. We're all scared. We're all
Yeah,
scared when we start this journey. Trust me.
yeah, yeah. You have the name Songkeeper Woman. How did that come about?
In our tradition here, when we get our spirit name, we generally will ask an elder who is a name giver to give us a protocol that we need to go through, whatever protocol that is to get our name. I went to a woman who has known me ever since I was a little girl, since I was born, actually.
Mm,
Mhm,
And I went to her and I said, I would like a name. So she came to me, she said, okay, here's what you need to do. She gave me all the protocol. And on the given day, she said, I want you to go down to the water. I want you to offer your gift to the water. And when you do that, I'll tell you what your name is. So I did that. I came back and she said, your name is Songkeeper on Turtle Island Woman.
mm,
Well, I just about broke down and cried because in the Indigenous way, we believe that the names that we're given, we either have to live up to or they were given to us to identify what it is that we do.
mm,
And both those thoughts struck me. I'm a songkeeper and I have a responsibility to do that. So it was a very deep uh, name for me, and it's a name that I constantly work at trying to live up to because I know that it's a responsibility that was given to me, as well as a gift.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Um, would you want to share it in your Cree language?
Could I share in my Cree language? I would love to share in my Cree language. It's something that I'm just beginning to learn. When I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, they both were fluent Cree speakers, and so was my community.
Uh,
Mm,
But given the time that I was raised in, they felt that it was in my best interest and in the interest of all the people our age to know English because that would serve us better, which is too bad. And I understand where that came from. So they didn't speak much English to us. They didn't enforce it, in a way that they spoke it to us every day and made sure that we were able to talk back to them in the Cree language. If we spoke back to them in English, that was fine. So that made us quite lazy, I think, in wanting to learn. And now many of us at that age are really working hard to try to regain the language that we lost. So I can tell you what I say when I start a show, and maybe because when I talk to people who are Cree, they'll ask me something and I can respond to them, and they can ask me something again, and I can find my way in my broken Cree to make them understand. But to form beautiful thoughts, I have to sit down and I have to write them out so slowly, like in the song "O Land." There's a whole verse in there that's in Cree, and I say in that verse, let me see now, "Kage nukawiaski, gistinugawiaski nigich, gachinau nichi inanawak, gachinau nichi inanawak, kipematis henan, kikisage henan," which means, great Mother Earth, keeper of the land. We come to you. We know that you love us and you have mercy on us. So that's a little bit of what I say in that song. And also when I start a show, I also always say tanse, which is our greeting in Cree. Tanse, nigamanaka kana wena takiskwel, nitisnagasin, man teo siipi uschi, Manitoba. And that simply means, hello, how are you? My spirit name is, I shorten it down to Songkeeper Woman, is Songkeeper Woman. I come from a little town on Hudson, on the Churchill River called Churchill in northern Manitoba. So there's a little bit for you. I wish I could tell you more.
Oh, thank you. It's a song in itself to hear the language, the indigenous
Thank you.
languages. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, we appreciate it here.
Oh, you're
Um,
so
Oh, wow. When I was reading from your website, your bio and about your life, you've had some interesting jobs as well, like in the fisheries. And would you want to talk about some of that experience?
Yeah, because like I've said before, that our life takes different paths, and I always feel that there's always a reason for it, or at least you can glean something from those experiences. Yeah, like I say, I've always been a writer. I've always been interested in words. So when I was younger, I took a job working at a radio station as a news reporter trainee. My job was essentially to take the news copy that came in over the teletype at that time
Oh, wow.
Wow.
and to write it out in everyday language for our radio station, an Indigenous radio station. So I did that, and from there I moved on to do a little bit of television work. And after I left that job, I went to work in Quebec, and it just so happened that the job that I took was on the Ganawagi Reserve, which is in where the whole Oka crisis took place.
Yes.
Happened
Wow.
just at the time that
Oh,
I was
wow.
there.
Yeah.
The images that you see on television that have stuck in your mind of the two faces confronting each other, I had left by that time. But before that, I was working for this company, and it relied so much on businesses from Montreal. The Warrior Society had cut off the bridge, so nobody could get in, and I had to start looking for other work.
Wow.
But working there really gave me a more inside look at the whole Oka situation. So I thank Creator for that. That moved me on to British Columbia, where I worked for the CBC as a host for a morning show, current affairs morning show. Really enjoyed that. Loved working for the CBC. And from that job, really, without me realizing it at the time, it really helped me to write songs because we'd have these different little workshops talking about how to write intros, how to make them more succinct, how to bring them home, how to
Hmm.
get the emotion. And I was able to draw on that years later when I became a songwriter. When the CBC began to make changes, I had to look for other work because I didn't want to become one of the ones that they would cut. So before they made a bunch of cuts, I decided to jump ship. But I took a job working for a company that was a major fish processor on the north coast of British Columbia, and I became the gillnet fleet manager. My job was to manage the indigenous fleet basically during salmon season. Well, during that time, didn't I meet some of the most wonderful people? And you hear about my experience in the song North Coast Fisherwives Prayer on my very first album, Fence Posts and Stones. And that was a song that really started everything for me. You know, it's an a cappella song that talks about the angst that the families must feel when their loved ones are out on the water, especially during a storm.
Hmm.
Wow.
So it's a prayer, is what it is. So all these jobs that I had really led me to the place that I am today, but they were certainly interesting jobs.
Oh, yeah. It sounds really creative and wonderful. We're close to the top of the hour, and because we're live on the radio, I need to say you're listening to WZNC LP Bethlehem at 99.9 FM, and we're also online at nococommunityradio.org. Our guest today is Phyllis Sinclair, and talking to us. Are you in Manitoba right now? I wasn't sure where
I'm
you
from
are.
Manitoba. No, I was born in Manitoba and I go home as frequently as I can. I just came back from being back home about a month ago, but I now live in Alberta. I live outside of Edmonton in a
Uh-huh.
little town called believe it or not, Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Now, don't let that confuse you. Saskatchewan is a province. I don't live
Uh-huh.
in Saskatchewan. I live in the town, Fort Saskatchewan,
Oh,
which
wow.
is in Alberta.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, wonderful. It's so great that we can do this now on the radio with these calls and see you, and I will enjoy um, changing up the format a little bit so that we can also share it on the cable network at, in Vermont, and we share a little bit of our moccasin track shows there, and
Awesome.
so it's great, so a whole nother audience will be able to enjoy your words today.
Oh,
We really appreciate it. I know you might have some more questions for Phyllis.
Wow. I'm as you were talking, Phyllis, I'm thinking of you being a young girl for some reason, and thinking, what kinds of musical influences did you have growing up?
oh my gosh. I think I was just like everybody else, everybody in my age group. Like I remember lying at night with a transistor radio underneath.
Yep, yep, yep.
So
Yeah.
I could hear the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Dave Clark Five. I don't know if you remember
Yes.
the Monkeys, all those
Love it.
really
Popular.
those are the groups from my. But then, of course, as I grew to be a teenager, then it became, the Bob Dylans. It became the Joan
Uh,
Baez,
yeah.
those beautiful 60s folk singers that talked
Wow.
about trying to change, social causes. And
Yes.
so, yes, I
Wow. When I was telling you earlier that I felt like your guitar playing was crystalline, for
yes.
some reason, when I was listening to you playing that, it was like I'm thinking, Dear Prudence.
Oh, okay.
That kind of quality of,
My producer will be so happy to hear that because
oh,
my producer is a huge, huge Beatles fan. I mean,
wow.
and he's in love with, well, not in love, but I mean, he
Uh-huh.
truly loves the work of the Beatles and Paul McCartney, especially.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful.
And Yeah, so it's funny that you would say that. I'll
Well,
have to let you
I
know.
actually do album covers for a lot of Beatles wingmen. Like
Okay.
from Wings, I've done work for Paul McCartney's Wings, John Lennon's last bass player, Gary Van
Really?
Skyok.
Wow, that's amazing. Like I say, like we don't know where our gifts will take us,
Right.
right? And,
Hmm.
and to think that your gifts have taken you there, that's to me, that's amazing
You
too.
have no
Hmm.
idea. I'm the Forrest
Ah,
Gump of the Abenaki.
oh, that's terrific. Well, I say congratulations to you too on that.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Yeah.
Oh, well, I want to make sure that, you have enough time to, is there anything else that you wanted to share today that we haven't asked you about that you might want to talk about?
I really don't think there's too much. I think a lot of times my music says so much of what's on my heart. I really am, like very see-through. I can't remember, of course, transparent. I'm very
Hmm.
transparent.
Hmm.
And I think really the only thing I would like to say is that we are in a time right now that is very disconcerting. We don't know what's going to happen. The
Mm,
future, uh, we don't know what will transpire. But I think that I would just like to encourage everyone to just stay strong and true to yourself. Don't let these things of the world that look like they could tear us apart, tear you up inside. You know, make the best of every day. Get up in the morning and realize that we still have the sun, we still have the clouds, we
Yes,
still
yeah,
have the trees.
right.
We still
Yeah.
have all these beautiful things. And I think those are things that we should focus on and, try to make the best decisions for ourselves that will help us all have, a good future together. Really.
Mm, thank you for that. In planning the show today, I was thinking, here we are with the airwaves that just go out, knowing no boundaries, knowing no tariffs or taxes, or
Uh-huh. Right.
and there's a beauty in that,
Yeah.
and recognizing that our work here doing radio is like that. We can send out the messages on the airwaves, and
Yeah.
I love thinking about the wind carrying the messages.
Yeah. And
um,
the other thing is that, you know what? We are all people. We're
mhm,
all people. And
mhm.
I think as people, we can all relate to each other. There are no borders to feelings.
Yeah,
There are no
right,
borders to
right,
feelings.
right.
And oftentimes, our governments make decisions for us that, make us twitch in our chair a little bit. But when it boils down to it, you and I, we have no borders and we can relate to each other
mhm.
just by being human.
Thank you so much for your words today and for joining us, Rick. And
Yes.
Rick, in closing, do you have some comments?
I just want to say thank you for being on our show. It's been a total delight, an
Hmm.
honor, and
Yes.
I'm really thankful that I was able to listen to your music and now can continue to listen to it.
Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much. I appreciate and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to just to talk and share. I mean, that's
Mm,
that's really what I want to do. So thank you to you and to your show and to your listeners. I wish you all well, and you know, we
Yeah.
just carry on.
I hope you'll come back.
Yeah,
I
maybe you come
will. I'd
back
love to.
sometime. Yeah,
I'd
that'd be
love
great.
to.
All right, we'll keep playing your music here too, and
Thank you.
sharing what we can on the social media. And
Yes, thank you so
so,
much. I appreciate
yeah.
it.
Okay, you be well. And Carolyn's going to play a song for us, and